What if the ache in your body is more than pain? What if it's a signal that your body is asking for alignment, your soul is asking for stillness, and your spirit is asking to reconnect with God who created you to live whole? Today, we're going beyond temporary relief and into divine alignment, body, spirit, and soul, with Dr. John Artis. He's a chiropractor, and he founded Health on Earth Chiropractic. He's here to help us understand how caring for the spine, the nervous system, and physical body can support the life God created us to live. Healthier, freer, and more fully aligned. Welcome, Dr. John Artis.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
This is the body, spirit, soul connection, and this is what we do. We have people come on, and so we can answer some questions around the body, the spirit, and soul. And I would have to just be honest with everybody is that I've had my own experiences with chiropractic work, and it's been like 14 years or so that I first encountered starting to have some care under a chiropractor. And of course, the one thing that I want to do, doctor, is there's one myth out there. Once you start having chiropractic care, you always have to have it. Yes, we've heard the things out there that people say, oh, you never should go to a chiropractor. You're not supposed to be doing with your body, so forth and so on. So what I want to do today is for the people meeting you for the first time. Tell us, who is Dr. John Artis and what led you into chiropractic care?
I'm a humble servant of God. Number one, I think I didn't choose chiropractic. It chose me, I always say, because of my experience with chiropractic. And one of the things, it's just a very spiritual profession for me because I'm dealing with something that people can't see. And so you got to have some faith that there's something that can heal in you to actually believe in chiropractic. And that journey aligns with my spiritual beliefs outside of my profession. And so it just kind of merged together. And then, like I said, when chiropractic chose me, my story, I grew up skinny, potbelly kid, asthma, walk around with an asthma pump, allergic to everything. And then I started going to a chiropractor for just knee issues. And then somebody was like, you should go to my chiropractor. And it helped me with my asthma. So that ended up having me to look into chiropractic. So I would be out and I would see a chiropractor's office, and I was always an inquisitive person. So I would go in there and I would say, what made you become a chiropractor? Because I really didn't really know about it. I came from a scientific background where it was research, pharmaceutical development, all the stuff like that. And then to go into something where it's not a lot of research and these results are getting there. God got a hold of my spirit one night because I was working. I graduated from college. I was in my career. And then it's like, man, you should go back to school. And I was like, I'll be broke. I mean, I would think I was making like $42,000 a year. I had a car. And I was like, man, I thought I was just doing it. I was in the early 2000s or late 90s. And it was one of the best decisions I could ever did. And I had to take a leap of faith. So I left Washington, D.C. area with a Penske truck, my Nissan Maxima on the back, and then went to Iowa to become a chiropractor. And then I've been able to help so many more people and make a bigger impact on this world as far as like understanding what true healing is about. And I think chiropractic principles, they instill that. It's just not so much you cracking somebody's back. I always say that's not the whole purpose of it. The whole purpose is just to take pressure off the nervous system. And just how by doing it, what protects the nervous system is the bones. Yeah. So if you understand those bones are designed to be movable, and sometimes they get stuck and they shift. And when they shift like that, that can create problems that we spend times focusing on how to treating the symptoms instead of treating what caused that to get stuck. And then so when I got that stuck like that, unstuck with me, my breathing got better. I haven't used an asthma pump since 2000. I mean, it's pretty amazing for me. And I usually was always walking around asthma, allergies and stuff like that. And I give that all glory to God and a chiropractic adjustment.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The one thing that I stated once we started this conversation up is that God created the body to heal. That's one thing that I want a lot of people to really think about and understand.
Right.
And that he's given us the power to help the body to heal. But the first thing is awareness. And that's why we have these kind of conversations. So when we say pain is not the problem, it's the signal. Can you explain how pointing to the deeper misalignment, the inflammation, nerve pressure, and lifestyle stress and poor body mechanics adds on to that.
Yeah, I always tell people, and that's something that kind of came to me, and I was taught that pain is always the last thing to show up and the first thing to go away. So you can actually not be in pain and have a messed up joint. What happens is that messed up joint goes on for a period of time and it becomes inflamed, and then you have pain. And a lot of people focus on the pain instead of what caused the joint to become that way. And that's what chiropractic does. It focuses on what was the cause instead of treating the symptoms. And a lot of times we've been pigeonholed into symptom treatment because a lot of people come in because, oh, my back hurt. And our job as chiropractors is to educate them. It's like, look, I don't know if anybody ever told you this before, but your body's designed to heal itself. There's only one thing that's actually stopping it from doing that is when that body becomes misaligned. And that can become misaligned because of poor biomechanics. You sit for long periods of time. It can happen from stress. We always teach, and it's a core principle of chiropractic, the 3 T's. You got thoughts, which are negative thoughts, which is stress, where you're always tight, and that muscle tightness can pull bones out of place and create more inflammation. Second thing is toxins, the things we put in our body where we don't eat, we don't drink enough water, we don't need the right amount of nutrients to actually, for cells to actually make new cells and all that stuff and create inflammation, they bring inflammation down. And then you got traumas. Obviously, that's the biggest thing that can cause it because that's where your slips and your falls all the way down. All those things right there are very traumatic on the body. And then you got the micro traumas from just sitting behind a desk, which is the new thing that's happening now. Everybody's working from home and they're getting sicker. They're getting a lot of these diseases that people didn't even get at that age. So, I mean, it's a lot of different things. So when you line all those things up, you got to address those things to actually go back to get the cause. And so it's a lot of lifestyle management is what I do pretty much.
You said a lot, and I was just thinking as you were
Mhm.
talking and going back to my own experiences and history and people that I know. The one thing that is very important is to understand that we've all been created differently as well. So
Right.
what might work for one person might not work for another person.
Exactly.
And this is where you come in and other chiropractors come in to educate. We have to educate. It's like if we go to the doctor, sometimes we go in and they run tests, they put you on medications,
Mhm.
and then a lot of times they'll come back, and I'm a nurse for 41 years. I ask them, so what do you understand about your visit? And what did the doctor say? And most people, I'd say 90% of the time, they say, I don't know.
Right.
That's because we sit there and we listen to an extent. We don't ask any questions. And so when someone enters into your office, what I would like to take us through a little journey, they enter into your office. How do you get them to become aware and then move forward on that journey hand in hand so you can really help them? You understand their bodies and they understand their bodies.
Number one thing I do is I listen. Sometimes people could tell you so much stuff, and I'm listening for what's not being said. I'm listening to their body language. I'm listening to their body. I'm listening to them tell me like when it hurts. And one of the most important things that I'm listening to is what is stopping them from doing. Like if it's stopping them from being able to walk or being able to play with their kids. And so when you think about that, you get to really know that person instead of just knowing the symptoms that they come in with. The more that you know about that person, the more that you can help them. Sometimes it's just a matter of an adjustment, or sometimes it's a matter of them tweaking something that they're doing at home. And that can be life changing for some people.
Yeah.
But you would never know that if you don't listen. And a lot of times people come in with these agendas. Well, this is what we're going to do today, and this is how we're going to do that. Of course, I explain the flow of the day and the visit and the purpose of the visit. But the most important thing I can say is I listen. And then what I do is I internalize that and I ask more questions. I'm very curious. One of my favorite characters growing up as a kid, everybody tell you that is Curious George. And one of the things I always did is I always just ask questions. I'd be like, hey, why is this like that? Why is that? Why do you think that's hurting? Well, tell me more. And I'll be like, okay, this is what we need to do to get this person from A to B. And I've been very successful with that. It doesn't always happen like that with some people, but at the same time, the intention is pure. And long as the intention is in the right place, the outcomes are usually good.
Amen. I love that. Thank you so much. So the nervous system is the communication center of the body. Would you say that?
Right. Oh, 100%.
So this helps people to understand why chiropractic care is not just about the back, about helping the body function better. Could you go a little deeper in that statement?
So when you look at function, you look at everything is controlled by the brain down to the nervous system, the nerves, extension of the spine, and then they go to every single function in your body. It's coordinating and sending messages back and forth. And if there's any kind of disruption in that, the last research article I read was that you could take the weight of a dime, could decrease a nerve by 60%. The weight of a dime, that's like nothing we carry around in our pockets sometimes. We don't even know it's there. But imagine that amount of pressure putting pressure on a nerve. That can actually decrease that function, that signal that's being sent there. And so that's going to decrease that function. People always ask me, well, how do you measure function? Well, you measure function by making sure that everything moves properly. And so if it's not functioning properly, it's telling me there's a disruption there. Also, you look at symptoms, you look at what people present with. So symptoms not always be you coming in and say it hurts right here. A symptom may be I can't lift my arm over my head, right? It hurts from that point. So that's already getting the wheels turning. So when you understand anatomy and physiology, you get to narrow it in to search. And it's almost like playing Inspector Gadget. And then that way you kind of be like, okay, this muscle controls this. So now I got to look at whether it's damage to the muscle or it's damage to the nerve. And then the more information you have from that point. A lot of times, we used to do that in the office all the time. We stop asking people like how they're doing or how they're feeling. We start asking them how they're functioning.
There you go.
And that was a big shift. So it's kind of getting people to the point to start thinking, it's not always about my pain. I say, pain is going to come and go.
Mm-hmm.
We all been in pain at some point, even myself. And there are periods where I've been in pain where I didn't think the pain was going to go away. Yeah. And you start to lose hope. But one thing I know for sure is that there's one day where we won't have any pain, where it just happens on God's time. And again, going back to this being a spiritual profession. And sometimes I think, too, the big message I want to get out to people, too, is that we always focus on, I can't do this and I can't do that. You also missing a blessing there, too. You always got to look at, too, what's the blessing behind this, right? Sometimes God has to sit you down somewhere. And that's something that I always teach my patients. I just teach this word called sitio, right? And that means sit your butt down. Sometimes you got to sit down. And so that little saying I say to patients, sometimes we're inundated with so much information and got to do this and got to do that. Sometimes we need to sit our butts down. And that where the true healing can happen. Yeah, so we can actually rest and heal.
What I want to do is go back to the word pain. So a lot of people live with pain for years, right? And they assume it's just part of getting older. What do you wish more people understood about the pain? Because so many people have said, girl, this is just part of getting old. And I refuse to take that statement and say it's truth for me, because it's not.
No, that's a simple way to almost you just accepting what it is. You actually letting that become a part of you and your identity. And we know God didn't need time for that. But what happens, I can tell you this, one of the things that I do well is I look at people that are healthy and successful, or people that have been through a lot of pain. And I look at the people that actually accept that idea, that mentality where they say, well, it's just what it is. Some of the healthiest people I know, I'm talking about the 94-year-old that's still driving, the 88-year-old Miss Betsy, all them, they expect to get better. They could easily chop it off. Now they say, look, I need help with this hip. It's stopping me from cutting my grass. They expect to get better. Those are the people that are still out here just continue doing it. When people accept that mentality, it's almost like they're giving up and they're just saying, I'm just going to take this for what it is and I'm going to live with it, when it doesn't always have to be like that. And I think what happens is they've been on this hamster wheel like thing, just running in circles instead of being scared to try different things, even though they might have to spend a little bit of money here and there. It might say and it might work, it might not, but you spend money on so many other things. Why not on your health to actually help you to get better?
Yeah. So I want everybody to know that I ran across Dr. Artis maybe 3 months ago. And there was just something about what he was doing for his patients that drew me to him. And so I've learned so much in those 3 months, more about myself and what I wasn't doing. I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do to help myself to heal and to maintain a wellness physically, mentally, emotionally. But the one thing that you taught me, and this is what I want to tell everybody, you're not going to know everything. And it's going to take a lifetime to continue to learn. So I call myself a lifelong learner. And with that being said, I walk and I walk and walk, and healing came from my walking, without a doubt. And so I just want everybody to know that there are more there's much more information beyond sometimes what you might get from a practitioner, healthcare provider, whatever, that you're going to have to delve into a little bit more about yourself. We're on the body, spirit, soul connection. That's because it is definitely connected. And this is what your practice does as well. It shows the holistic way of well-being and health. So I just want you to talk to the audience a little bit about that holistic way of being and preserving and healing that way.
And so you think about health as a triangle from a holistic point of view. At the top of that triangle, you got mindset. So number one, with mindset, you got to expect to get better, or you basically none of the other stuff that we talk about will make sense. Mm-hmm. And that's what those people that come in is like, you need to do this for me. And that's why it doesn't work for them, because they're expecting the other person to do 100% for them. It doesn't work like that. So I always tell, if I care more about your health and your spine than you do, it's not going to work. And that's one of the things that people have to get. So the second part of that thing is biochemistry. Biochemistry, I always tell my patients when I talk, is you got to have your metabolic house in order. So you have the mindset is there. So I want to get better. I want to be healthy. The biochemistry, want to keep your blood sugar in check, blood pressure in check, cholesterol, your weight. You don't want to be overweight. So you want to keep your metabolic house in order, because that can slow down you healing from a lot of other stuff. When you at risk for having heart attacks and strokes and stuff like that. Then the last thing, which I really work on in my expertise, is in the structure. That's when you're dealing with the bones and how the body is aligned and posture and all those different things and the wear and tear on the joints. So when I focused on that, I got good results. But when I started adding the biochemistry in there with the weight loss and the gut health and the functional medicine stuff, the results started to go up through the roof. So I was able to see, and I went with a different kind of model. So instead of volume, I went with more quality of patient. So I was trying to address both of those things at the same time. But I think a lot of that stuff kind of comes from life experiences and stories and stuff that you've heard. But when you put all three of those things together, that's 100% health for you. So for you, that triangle of health may be different. You may need to focus on structure. You obviously have the spiritual aspect, the mindset there, and then the biochemistry if you eat healthy, but then the structural point. For some people, they might need to focus more on the biochemistry point where they need to get their metabolic house in order. So they want to lose 40 pounds. And then that's keeping them from going to the gym. And then we can address the structure at the same time. And then you got some people, they just have a negative mindset. And that's where I try to refer them over to for counseling or something, because they have to get their thinking right before we can actually start to work together. You got to believe that what we're going to do is going to work, or you got to have some kind of faith. I want to give it the best foot forward. So we're going to make this thing work. But 100% health for everybody is different, just like your fingerprint. And the problems that I have with just general Western medicine is they treat everybody the same. Like you're a number, you're an insurance ID number. That's what you are. You got 24 visits for this. You got 10 visits for this. You got one annual checkup a year. And that's not how medicine should work. That's one of the reasons I think why the United States is where it is as far as overall health. This is the first time in history that we have more 60-year-olds than 16-year-olds. And what they're saying, too, is that the seniors now, the people that are like 60 and above, are actually living longer than the people that are like 30 and 40 because of lifestyle. And I can attest this just in my own personal experiences. Me and my wife went out to dinner with some of her friends from college, and they were all like, not even say no disrespect to anybody, but overweight, already on blood pressure medicines, pre-diabetic or diabetic. And we're all the same age. Because at the point where people were bragging, oh, I didn't leave the house doing cold for 3 weeks. If I got to take a job now, it's got to be 100% remote. I don't have to leave when it's cold outside. And I think that for us to be healthy, we need to have a community of people to where we can come together and we can actually physically touch. We're in a spiritual realm to the point where you get people together, like even with church, where you get two or more come together and we start worshiping, we can call that church type thing. But I think that a lot of that stuff transitions down into my practice because of my upbringing and my outlook on life and my spirituality. So,
yeah, Doctor, thank you for that. When you're talking, I'm like, wow, wow, wow. But what I wanted to go back to is that, yes, community is important because we've been created to be in community. We're connected. Oh, let's go back to this. You said that I have the mindset. The one thing that I want everybody to understand is that I'm learning more and more about myself the more and more I look into certain things. I just realized is that I've been stuck in an area of my life that I needed to go a little bit deeper. So this last 3 days, I went to a workshop. It was 10 hours a day. It was very intensive and went internally deep into neural pathways, mindset, and things of that nature. So why sometimes we're stuck? We want to lose weight. We want to lose the 20 pounds, but we're not putting forth the effort to do it. We do it, but
Right.
we're not doing it. There's something deep down inside that is stopping you from doing that. And I just want people to know this causes you to have to work. I am a certified health and life coach, and that's one of the things that I had to learn is I need to take people deeper into
Hmm.
some they can figure out, even from a child's perspective, what happened back then as a child that is going to cause you to have this pattern or continue these cycles, right? So what does that mean? Because when I hear that, we're talking about health on earth. I want you to explain to us, what does that mean for you?
So came sitting down with my wife one day, and we were just trying to think of names when I was gonna open my practice, and it just hit me. It's like I teach people how to have health on earth. And my original logo was a earth with all different kinds of people around it: white, blue, green, everything. And they're all holding hands and smiling. That was the original logo.
Okay.
And so what happened was it was a mission to the point where we want to touch, move, and inspire everybody. And not only just everybody, but just present generations, future generations to actually have health on earth. Whether it's understanding about the three T's: thoughts, traumas, and toxins, and how the body heals and how we can heal from above, down, inside, and out. And if that doesn't happen, you won't be healthy. Then when I added the functional medicine aspect to it and got a couple of nutritionists in there, and then we just started doing stuff that was more natural, like how you eat and all these different things, and losing weight, taking pressure off people's joints. It's just really just teaching people basically simple concepts of having health on earth and just how to be healthy. Because we know we get to heaven, we're gonna have to worry about a lot of this stuff. But while we're here, God has called us to do so many things. And that's one of the things that I see a lot is that people been called to do stuff and they can't even do it because physically they're lacking in some way. Whether it's pain stopping them from doing it, whether it's a knee issue, whether it's a hip, whether they're on dialysis, whatever it is. I'm not saying that I treat all these conditions, but it's to the point where we got to take responsibility of our own health. We can't leave it in
Yeah.
help of doctors. You got to ask questions. You got to make sure that you understand exactly what's going on with your body. I always talk about guys, we talk about cars all the time. It's like, man, as soon as that check engine light go on, you go straight to the dealership. As soon as your body starts giving you a signal, you need to take it straight back to God. God, what should I do? Guide me. Go back to the manufacturer and just be like, guide me on the steps. Send me somewhere else that where I can get the help that I need. So I'm always like, look, if I can't help you, let's get you over here to this doctor. It's a good ortho. I trust him personally. Maybe you need to talk to this person. I just had a patient come in the office the other day and just fell walking in the door. So
Mm.
my instant spirit was coming up. Her husband came in. I said, man, what's going on? You know what? You need to go to the emergency room. It turns out it's an infection of the spinal fluid. And so that was like Guillain-Barré. So her body was basically almost shutting down for her
Mm.
nervous system all the way, losing the function of her legs and all these different things. So she called me 2 days ago and thanked me, doctor, thank you, because I kept putting it off. And a lot of times, especially believers, we think we can pray our way out of certain situations, which I'm not negating prayer. Prayer is everything. But at the same time, God is like, I sent the ship right there. And you just kept saying, nah, I'm going to just keep praying. I sent you another ship and you got to keep praying. Sometimes you got to look, something isn't right. And that's the difference between pray, but you trust and faith too, that God is sending you these people or telling you to do these things. I've seen people have a stroke and not go to the hospital for like 2 days thinking they had a headache. And then they're
Mm.
incapacitated now for the rest of their life. When if they would have went within a 2 hour window, they could have got something to reverse it.
Yeah.
So it's just so many little things like that that you see where it's like, you know, this is you only got one body, you got one health right here on this earth, and you got so many things to do and people that love you and you want to be around and see the world. Take care of it. Take
Yeah.
care of it with the best way you can.
Yeah.
And that's what health on earth is about.
I love it. Thank you so much for that, for sharing that with us. The reason why this conversation is so important is that I want people to understand that once you find a fit, you might want to stay there. But if you don't find the fit right away, don't get discouraged and just give it up. Like if you go into a chiropractic office and that practice was not for you, don't give up on chiropractic.
Right.
I was
Right.
that person. I was that person. Had a bad experience. Bam, I was done. Up until now, 14 years later, when I met Dr. Artis and I decided that I wanted to open that back up. So my possibilities, my open heart, my open mind was back on board because I want to be the healthiest version that
Mhm.
God created me to be, right? And I needed
Mhm.
the support. I can't do it by myself. I don't have all the knowledge to do it by myself. We're going to need other people to help us along our journey. And that's why we're having this conversation. This is an encouragement for you to understand that there's support. You can get a team and be an advocate for yourself, right? Be an advocate. If the doctors are not talking to each other, they need to, because just
Mhm.
like you have multiple systems, bodily systems work together. But if you have one doctor over here doing one thing with you and another doctor over here doing another thing, they're not that could go against each other. So you
Exactly.
want people to come
Exactly.
together as a team to help you. And I just wanted to mention that. You speak, doctor, about gut health, functional and whole body wellness, like we were talking about. So, how are the spine, the nervous system, and the overall health connected? Just like I got body, spirit, and soul, how is the spine, the nervous system, and overall health connected? The reason why I want to bring this up is because I want people to understand connection.
When you talk about the spine, that's everything, right? So if the spine doesn't work, nothing else works. We're in the era where we know who the real Superman was, Christopher Reeves, and when he fell off a horse, he severed C2. Ain't nothing below C2 worked. So he had to rely on a respirator to breathe, all these bodily functions. So his body just said, I can't take it anymore, and it shut down. So that's essential for everything to work. So that nervous system has to be cleared out. So it's not a matter of like once you go to a chiropractor, I need to always go. It's not
Mhm.
even saying you need to always be adjusted, but you always need to have your spine checked because there might be a misalignment here that might not be inflamed, that might be causing other issues, and we're spending our time chasing that. The second part of that, the aspect of it, is that gut health. The reason why that's so important and that trumps a lot of different things is because that's how you get the nutrients into your body. I'm 50 years old. Food is just not the same. I can see it. Like even when I get fresh strawberries or when I go to another country and I see something that's 100% organic, and it's like my body is almost kind of almost in shock because it's like, this is real. This is coming straight off a farm and right onto my plate. And here is so much different processes that happen and so much political stuff that's being influenced that causing our food to change and all these different things. But with that gut health, that can actually cause inflammation or it can actually take away some inflammation. So when we understand that concept of the body, we want to obviously do stuff that's going to decrease the amount of inflammation, that's going to decrease the amount of stress on our bodies. Because a lot of times, I would almost go as far as to say 80% of what happens to us is how we eat. That's a big number because it's to the point where the biggest thing that's hurting us is not the fall that we did 20 years ago or 10 years or the car accident we're in. Now, those things have a significant impact, but it's the small things we do every day by putting that fork to our mouth, the
Yeah.
fried stuff, the stuff that's creating inflammation, and it builds up over time. And that can create that. So when you're talking about a lot of these autoimmune diseases that they're actually being able to help people with, it's because what they're doing is they're reducing the amount of stress on the body and allowing the gut to heal. So it's only letting certain stuff come into the system that needs to get there. When that system is destroyed, all the gates are open. So everything just flows into your bloodstream and your body starts attacking itself. So now you got all these antigens that are attacking. You got the army that they're sending and they don't know what to do. And then when they don't, that creates a disruption in the body, which can just create a whole list of problems. So if we can get that down and get that under control, you're eating your protein, your carbs, and your fats, and then you stay away from as much processed foods as possible.
Changes that it's going to really
Right,
help you over a period of
right.
time, right? Like me, 20% is the exercise, 80% is the
It's the
nutrition.
diet.
You
Right,
can exercise all day long, and if your eating is not healthy, you're going to keep on the fat weight. You're not
hmm
going to budge the things. You might be gaining a little muscle up underneath the fat, but fat is not going anywhere, right?
right,
But your
right.
internal organs are being affected too, that you might not feel until a later time because it won't show up right away, right? I want to move on to one thing. I have Dr. John Artis' book here. He wrote, wow, that,
Oh, wow. Wow. This is actually 10 years ago. That
yeah,
book was
yeah.
wrote. It was published. It was wrote in like, I think 2014 or 2015. It was a wake up call to change my life.
So he didn't know I had the book, and I've looked through the book, and it's a very easy read, but it's very informational and important to know. And it's about the 7 core values that cannot be ignored. And I'm just going to run through them real quick, but I want to talk about the first one. So the 7 are faith, servanthood, family and friends, chiropractic, spinal health, hygiene, that's together, exercise and physical fitness together, nutrition, and then sleep and rest. And sleep and rest, I just want you to know the sleep and rest are totally 2 different parts of your health journey. But the first one I wanted to talk about, faith and
Hmm.
alignment. They seem to be important themes in your story. How does your faith influence the way you serve your patients? And it's important to understand this about him because everyone does not have this story as far as faith goes. But this is where we're at. We're at body, spirit, soul connection. And this is what we talk about. We talk about God and we talk about faith. We talk about spirit and we talk about soul because we are all connected in that area.
So faith is number one in that book for a reason. It's literally everything. You can't please God without faith. You can't heal without faith. I mean, you can to a certain degree with people that don't believe, but faith that you're going to be better, faith that what you're going through shall pass. Faith is just the foundation for life. And I think that was given to us by the gift of the Holy Spirit. And when you have faith, you can actually know that it gives us a sense of hope that best is not yet to come. One of the mentors that I have, he's like 84, and he just had a birthday. He said the best is yet to come. Like he still
Mhm.
thinks. He said when I get 120, this is what I want to do. He's talking like that now. He's such a vibrant person, has more energy than a lot of us. But one of the things is that he speaks on faith so much, and it's just a big part of me and what it is. So it's just literally a strong sense of faith is what carries you through those dark times. Life has got its ups and downs, but one of the things is we're focused on the goal. So long as we know we keep going to that point, you're gonna have some valleys, and when you go through those valleys, you still got to have faith, and you still got to sing praises and thankful for what you do have. That's one of the core values that I think. And so how I got that book, I had 4 offices, right? I had a staff probably about 30 people working, so I started losing patches of hair in this process. So alopecia, I didn't know it was alopecia at the time. I'm arguing with my barber. It's like, man, you been cleaning your clippers and all this stuff. And he was like, nah, man, you stressed out. And I was like, nah. So I went to my dermatologist. They wanted to do steroid injections in my head and give me these pills to take. And then one of my doctors told me one day, she said, dude, you keep on, you can have a heart attack. And it scared me. And so what happened was I'm gonna get up every Sunday morning at like 6 and I'm gonna write. And so I wrote for a solid year and I picked 7 things. And one day it just sat on me. I was sitting down, my sister and her family was visiting me and my brother. He said, man, you should pick top 7 things that sticks out to you the most. And you should put this in a book because this is brilliant. And you should call it Overlook. Because I was running 5Ks. I'm thinking I'm going to health. I'm going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. But one of the things that I did is I lacked faith. I thought I could control everything. I was like, man, if it was a slow month, I was like, what am I going to do? I'm missing plugs. I was bald for like 2 years. I literally would shave my head because I got tired of the plugs being in my head. And so God said, man, you lack faith. Ye of little
Mm.
faith. And so I literally went and I listened to that. So I got rid of the other 3 offices. I got rid of some relationships. I let everybody go except one person. And I literally kept the original office, which is Tinley Park and Health on Earth. And that's where I have today. And I've been there ever since. And that office was established in 2006. That's why faith is so important for me because at that point I was somewhat on the outside. I would say, man, this guy is really successful, type A personality, go getter. He's making it, but I lack faith because I was, well, how am I going to do this? My wheels kept turning and I never knew how to really turn it off. I just got to keep driving. My family's never reached this side. So now I just got to keep pushing and pushing. And then God is telling me, it's like, no, you're not in control of this like you think. I'm sending you signs. The warning signs are there. And so I literally prayed about it and woke up one day and says, cut out everything stressful. And I did. And my hair grew back.
To kill you?
What I was doing is I was overlooking those 7 core values.
There you
And
go.
the number one was faith.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't really sleeping like I should. I wasn't resting mentally. The spinal health. And that's why it's like, you got to understand that your spinal hygiene, you got these degenerative conditions that are happening in your spine right now as we speak. And they
Yeah.
just don't happen all of a sudden when you wake up and you got pain. A lot of
Yeah.
this stuff is building years before it comes, and nobody's checking you for that but a chiropractor.
See, this is what I have to say. I have a granddaughter who's 19 years old. She went in the services. She did the boot camp part of it, and she got a little injured. She
Mhm.
had bulging disc. When they did the MRI, they said that she has degenerative disc disease. She's 19 years old. And so it still goes back to what we put in our mouths too, I believe.
It's a big
You know
part
what I'm
of it.
saying?
When you look at stuff like that, we can be genetically predisposed to certain conditions. And what last research article I read was like it's 30% of what happens to us, and the other part is a 70% lifestyle. So if you look at that, 30% is enough to influence. If you do certain things, it can be influenced greatly. I saw a lady Saturday that took x-rays on, and she's 40, but her spine looks like she's 70. I don't see that too often, but it's just the amount of degeneration, and you can see it. But she, this is why my neck is, and she obviously pain brings people in most of the time, but my job is to educate them through that journey.
Yeah, a lot of people have told me after looking at my x-rays and my MRIs of my spine and looking outwardly, they say you don't look like from the
No,
outside what you
no.
look like on the inside because
Yeah.
I'm surprised you even walking. You know, a lot of people say that. I wanted to ask you because I just don't want to give information. I want to give them practical ways of doing something. What are one or two simple things people can start doing today to support their spine, posture, and their overall wellness from your chiropractic perspective?
Number one thing I think people could do, and it's a three-part thing to support that. So number one thing is I think everybody needs to lift weights. I'm a huge component of strength. Strength is your best insurance policy. That's going to slow down the amount of generation. It's going to increase, especially for females, it's going to increase bone density. A lot of that stuff is due to lack of bone density, which because women don't have as much bone density of muscle mass as men, that's why they're more likely to get it. But now you're starting to see men develop stuff like that because of
Mhm.
people sitting and working from homes and on their phones as much. And so I would say number one is you got to maintain a certain level of strength. And there's certain things you can test that by grip strength tests. If you hang from a pull-up bar, if you can hang for like a minute, 2 minutes, if you can squat your body weight, if you can do farmer's carry your body weight in both hands and just walk like that, that's developing strength. And it's not saying everybody got to go to the gym and try to be a
Right.
bodybuilder, but
Yeah.
it's just really maintaining a certain amount of integrity of the spine. A lot of these degenerative conditions that happen with people is because of instability and because those muscles that actually support the spine are not as strong as they should be. The second thing I think everybody needs to do is they need to do some kind of like flexibility training. These things are very important because you maintain a certain mobility to where stuff doesn't get stuck. And when
Mhm.
you can stretch certain things different ways. And then
Yeah.
the third thing you want to do too is you got to maintain some kind of like cardiovascular fitness because that brings the oxygen, the blood flow to the muscles all the way out through the body, brings the oxygen, which brings all the nutrients so the body can heal. So those three-part things, I think that everybody, if you could do, it's going to help you to maintain a certain level of health, and it's going to help you to actually maintain a certain amount of spinal mobility.
Thank you. So, everybody, the big core points here is this: to stay healthy, it's small things that we can do to help ourselves to maintain wellness and health. You have to first become aware of what your situation is, get the tools to help yourself. And like Doctor was saying, you don't have to go in and be a bodybuilder. You don't have to lift weights to strengthen up your muscles or gain a little bit more muscle mass. There's so many other things that you can do with just bands and so forth, just
Mhm.
resistance on the muscle itself.
Most-
And then I just want you to know it's small step. You don't have to do everything today.
No,
You
no.
just start small, add these habits on, and they become habits. So many people are wasting away and dying from conditions and diagnoses that they can definitely get rid of without a doubt and without medication. You might need the meds right away because of where you're at, but you can reverse a lot of this. And I just want to keep on stressing that the information that you're getting here is good information for you to start and keep following up. Dr. Artis, we're going to put his information out so
Mhm.
you can go to his website or you can get on his email list, or case may be, so you can get more information. And it's not to say that you have to go to Dr. Artis, but you can get a lot more information. And especially by honing in on the body, spirit, soul connection, where I bring experts to the table to talk about these issues so you can become well and have a longer life to live. So, Doctor, is there a group that you're passionate right now of helping?
I say people in general over the age of 50, 50 plus. 50 plus is like my bread and butter. They're old enough to realize that they don't have it all figured out and they know something probably will happen to them.
Mhm.
Typical younger people don't think it's going to happen to them yet until it does. And so they don't tend to take health as serious. You got some people that do, and I'm not speaking for everybody. And if I had to narrow it down a little bit more, I would say African Americans, Black people, because of the fact we have the shortest life expectancy in the world, males being the highest and then females being the second lowest. And if we can change some things. And so I started writing, me and a partner started a non for profit organization, which we got to continue to develop, called Black Don't Crack. And it's basically designed to increase the longevity of African Americans. And
Nice.
so we want to take it to HBCUs and doing the homecomings because we're losing people every day. I mean, 50, 45, 42 to stuff that is basically lifestyle changes,
Yes.
strokes and heart attacks and obesity. And that's stuff that you should think that happened to people that were older. You know, motion is life and movement is life. And the more you can move and express life and be fully self expressed, the more you can get stuff done and the more you can leave your impact here on the world and you can carry out what God calls you to do.
Yes. And the body loves movement. That's how we've
It
been.
does.
And I remember 14 years ago when I had my first huge herniated disc in my lumbar area. And the neurosurgeon had been in practice forever out of the University of Chicago. And he
Mhm.
said, this is the worst herniated disc I've ever seen. But
Wow.
I'm going to tell you this. To this day, I haven't had surgery. And I've had two herniated discs. But I've learned the work that needs to be done to help my body heal. It
Hmm.
takes time sometimes, weeks, months, and for me, maybe even some years.
Yes, right.
But I'm still living proof that with that on board, you can help yourself, help your body to heal itself with the good nutrition, gut health, flexibility, muscle
Hmm.
strengthening,
Exactly.
cardiovascular work, drinking your water, getting sunlight, being out in nature, thinking about your emotions and your mindset,
Add one
opening
more to
up
that
that
sleep
heart, and sleep and rest.
and sleep and rest.
Absolutely. So these are all the tools that Dr. Artis and I are trying to bring this conversation to you because this is the way we've been created to live. This is the way we've been created to grow and to heal. Things are going to happen in life. We all know that. But we have tools that God has given us, such as chiropractic,
Hmm.
that at one point in time, I looked sideways at it, but now my mind and my heart is open to it. So I want you to do the same thing. As we get ready to close, I want to give Dr. Artis an opportunity. If there's any practical points or anything he wants to say to you guys. And then we're going to give you the information where you can connect with him and learn more about his practice and anything that he has out there to serve you well.
I would say this: don't take your health for granted. Appreciate every day. Thank God for what you do have. Even if you're in pain or you're dealing with some kind of discomfort, appreciate that because it could always be worse. It could always be worse. And a lot of times we get caught up on that. The second thing I will say too is that you always want to be the change that you want to see. So imagine the things that you do and how it's going to affect your family. So you want to be that beacon of light for your family. Don't
Mhm.
just try to get them to go exercising. You be the change. You actually start exercising. And then when they start saying, man, can I come walking with you today? Or can I do this with you today? You're impacting them one by one and you're not forcing it on them. It's going to ingrain in them and you can literally change your whole generation from, where you got grandmas and aunties that die from strokes. That don't necessarily mean that y'all have to.
Amen.
Just one step
I
at a
love it.
time. Just put your best foot forward. And then if you need help, I'm one of your best resources. I'll be honest with you all the time. If I can't help you, I'm gonna tell you. But if I can, I'll tell you. And the number one thing is always get your spine checked. If you feel like something's off, worst case scenario, you go get an X-ray and everything checks fine. But if you see something before it can actually get full blown, get ahead of it before it starts to get worse. Because sometimes a lot of stuff is when you're in full blown pain, that's the last thing to show up, and it's always been there, but you just never paid attention to it because you never really got it checked out. And you can always call me as a resource. I'm always here to help you. We do consultations in my office all the time. And a lot of my office is just full of love and energy. And that's what we want to be, one place, that Health on Earth office, to where it's one of the least stressful places that you go to. So when you walk in there, you want to be less stressed. That's what we create, that kind of environment. And I stand on that because people have told me this is the only time that I've had peace when I come in here. And they will sit in there. And I've had patients sit in my office for like 2 hours. And I just want to sit in here. And that's something that you can't make that up. You can't duplicate that. It's just a feeling that you get. And it's not always perfect. And it's not everybody's cup of tea. And I get that. But one thing that you can get is you can get a better understanding about your health and where you are and what you need to do from that. And you decide what you want to do with it from there.
Very good. Thank you so much. I will have to add that he does have physical therapists and massage therapists on board. His website is healthonearth.org. We will have all the information for his contact email and everything in this video. When I'm looking for that, it will be there. And I want you guys to stay connected to the Body, Spirit, Soul Connection, because this is where you can come, get the information you need so you can have a better life to live. God bless.